Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Fearless Floyd Show. As always, I am your host, Fearless Floyd, and it is August 4th, 2024, on a Sunday afternoon. Another hot August night coming up. As you see from the screen, this is Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch, who just wrote a new book. And in that book, he makes some startling statements. And I want to bring them to your attention. Let me get this set up here. All right. Ready to go there. And meanwhile, like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell, leave a comment below. You can always reach me at the Fearless Floyd Show at yahoo.com. I am the Fearless Floyd Show across every social media platform. FearlessFloydShow.com is my website. Come check me out over there. And I'm not going to play this in its entirety, just enough to let you know that your federal government hates your guts. And what happens when you get convicted of a felony? You lose your right to vote.
Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch is marking 7 years on the bench and speaking out on what he believes is an overabundance of laws and regulations in the U.S. Gorsuch was a Trump appointee and was sworn in back in 2017. Justice Gorsuch authored a new book titled Overruled: The Human Toll of Too Much Law. Shannon spent time with Justice Gorsuch at the nation's highest court this week to discuss the downside he sees in the volume of laws in this country.
Thank you for making time for us to talk about this new book, which, having read it, I think will be eye-opening to the American people. The idea that so much of our conduct is overregulated and by default overcriminalized in many cases, that apparently you and I are committing felonies every day without possibly even knowing it.
I think that might be true. Some professors say that there are now so many federal laws on the books, crimes, that every American over the age of 18 commits one felony a day. And that's happened in my lifetime. 1970 to present, we've seen maybe a doubling in the number of federal crimes on the books. And that just counts what's in the code, the U.S. code passed by Congress. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, because federal agencies have been busy too.
The argument is that we need those things to keep us safe, to regulate pollution and drugs and all kinds of things. So where did we cross the line from valuable society protecting regulation and laws to something that has blossomed into the situation where we can't even know that we've crossed the line?
On the one hand, we need laws to keep us free and safe. On the other hand, if you have too many laws, you impair those same freedoms and our aspirations for equality too, because who can deal with a world with so much law? James Madison said it's going to be the people with money and connections. And as a judge now for 18 years, I just came to see case after case in which ordinary Americans just trying to live their lives, not hurt anybody, raise their families, were just getting whacked by laws unexpectedly.
It's not just the laws that are passed, but it's also the regulatory stuff that has given rise to, critics will say, a fourth branch of government. I want to read a couple of things you have from the book. You say many criminal laws are not the direct product of elected representatives accountable to us. They're the handiwork of agency officials. You go on to say these days federal agencies don't just write and enforce legally binding rules. Often they act as prosecutor and judge too.
The IRS has a hotline if you've got questions. I mean, you don't want to become a federal felon, right? On your, you call them. You call them. And it turns out for a period of time they were giving wrong answers about a third of the time. And then when asked, how come so many wrong answers? They said, well, the IRS code has just gotten so complex and there's so many new laws. There's been an explosion in our laws, and it's new and it's different and it's in our lifetimes.
You say too that there are reasons that have driven us to this, some of them big societal changes. You say when trust in individual judgment, civic institutions, and social norms fades, where else is there to look for answers but the law?
You know, when Alexis de Tocqueville came to this country in the 1830s, he said that unlike Europe, where anything important was undertaken by a British lord or a French government. Here it was ordinary Americans coming together in their communities and making a difference. And those connections, those bonds are essential for democracy, right? I have to trust you. You have to trust me. We may disagree. That's the whole point of democracy, is we vote, right? That's the engine of democracy, is disagreement. But when we lose our trust in one another, when we lose our trust in ourselves and our own judgment, where do we turn? We turn to the state, we turn to laws, we turn sometimes to people very distant from our own homes, right? Federalism gives way to nationalism. And instead of nationalism being our laws made in Congress, it's often moved over to agencies with less responsiveness to the American people.
But the book does talk about, balance of power. There are different branches. They have different assignments. So how does an independent judiciary operate within some conflicts between the branches?
The answer is the Constitution. And if it's in the Constitution and the other two branches are infringing on it, your right to exercise your religion, your right to bear arms, your right to speak freely, I'm duty bound. I took an oath to uphold the Constitution, and you win, even though the government may not like it. When do I stay out? When the Constitution doesn't say anything about the subject. That's left for we the people to decide in their democratic processes. And that's most things in our daily lives, isn't it?
Well, you also talk about the issue of individualism, which is very American. It's very big in this country, and how some of that may be sacrificed in giving over to this overregulation.
We're about to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. And you look at the promises in the Declaration, and they're so profound, right? We are all created equal. We have inalienable rights. They don't come from government. They belong to each of us. And government derives its just powers from the consent of the governed. We are the sovereign in this country, we the people. Those are profound promises. And we all want those promises to be realized more and more over time. And the questions I'm asking through the book, really through the stories of the people to whom it's dedicated, how are we doing? That's kind of our report card, that those three promises in the Declaration. How are we scoring today? That's what it's about.
So how do we solve the problems in the book?
Well, first of all, we have to learn how to trust one another.
What are those three things? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. If you're unhappy with your government, change it.
One another, right? Not everything needs to be solved by a distant government. Sometimes we should remember what Tocqueville talked about, working with one another. That means listening as well as speaking. That means learning how to lose as well as win. That means trusting the person with whom you disagree loves this country every bit as much as you do. And my good friend Steve Breyer says, if I listen to almost anyone talk for long enough, I'm going to find something they say that we can agree on. And maybe we should start there.
Well, the book is a collection of fascinating, somewhat infuriating stories that I think of real people, that we should all know their stories, and that it should spark a conversation about where we go from here. So best wishes with the book, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Shannon.
I'm Steve. What did Neil say? The government is controlled by we the people, the sovereigns. You heard it straight from his mouth, folks. Federal government is bloated. It's a parasitic, greedy, infant terrible. It cares only about its own survival. It cares not for its people. You are peons and subject to the will of the government and the government agencies. When you vote and you put in these elected politicians, it's not them that's really running the show. It's the institutionalized career personnel within the government. That's what the whole Chevron case was recently decided by the United States Supreme Court, that these federal agencies are overextending their authority, trying to create policy into law. And people are being held accountable for policies and not laws and losing everything. And that's what apparently this book is about. If you don't like your federal government, you don't like the way it's operating, you have to change it. You can't go vote. Your vote really doesn't matter, folks, as apparent as that is. Because all you have to do is lie, steal, cheat, change the voting machines, change the tallies. There's many ways to cheat in voting. But if you really want to change your government, run for office. And then when you get there, don't accept any invitations to any of these parties. Don't drink any open containers because they're going to drug you. And you're going to wake up and you're going to be looking at a video of you having sex with 2 underage children. Or you're going to be next to a dead body with a murder weapon in your hand. And they're going to use that to blackmail you for the rest of your career. So if you have any proclivities, you might want to take care of those before you run for office. But that's what we have to have in this country. It's we the people. We the people have to go back into our own government and take it over from these vampires, government vampires, because that's what they are. All they're doing is enforcing policy to keep themselves afloat on your dime. So stop, folks. If you want to change your circumstances, go get elected and change it from within. It's the only way you will change the country. If you're expecting Donald Trump to come in here and just go, okay, it's a new country, we're under new laws, new this, new that, no, it's not happening. You see the machinations of how law really works. It takes fucking years to get to the United States Supreme Court to get reviewed. And you had to go through all those courts. You got to go through the state courts or the federal courts to get to the Supreme Court. When you finally get there and they do these blanket orders and dismiss your case with everybody, with thousands of other cases, denied without written order, denied without written order, denied without written order. I've got them. Denied without written order. They don't even look at your shit. Why? They're overwhelmed. There's too many fucking laws. Not enough courts, not enough judges to actually fully adjudicate every issue. It's impossible. They're half-stepping. So you heard it here, straight from a Supreme Court justice, what's going on in this country. And if you think those bozos in the Biden administration are doing anything to benefit you, no. They're giving everything to everybody else, to Ukraine, to Israel, to Palestine, to Turkey, to Mexico, to NGOs, non-governmental organizations. They are sending billions of dollars to fund illegal immigration into the United States. Yes, you heard me right. Your own United States of America government is spending money, billions of your tax dollars, directly to NGOs to support illegal immigration, to get those illegal immigrants into the United States from their original destination, whatever that looks like, whether it's debit cards, SNAP cards, funded debit cards, gift cards, clothes, cell phone service, backpacks, fresh clothes, hygiene. Some of them are getting medical services and dental services on the way here. You're paying for that, folks. You heard it right here. So be sure and go out and commit your federal felony today. You got to keep the statistics where they need to be. I hope I taught you a little something. Like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell, leave a comment below. Love to hear what you've got to say about the Supreme Court, Chevron, all these federal laws, or whether or not you think you committed a federal felony today. And if you did, what did you commit? Because if you told anybody you're a U.S. citizen, you committed a federal felony. Go look it up. Peace in the Middle East, because that's where Armageddon's starting. Medigo, Israel. Watch Medigo, Israel. That's where the battle between good and evil. Go watch it. I am the Fearless Floyd Show across every social media platform. Come find me, come hang out, come over to my Telegram channel. I post a ton of stuff in there. I have some great people, brilliant, like minded individuals. Come check us out.